Coming up, 36 big hits to number one, and we're counting them down.
Casey's Coast to Coast.
Has had the most up and down movements on the chart before it fell off. I'm Casey Kasem, and our first weekly countdown of 1981 begins in a moment with a new song using the same title as Elvis Presley's first pop hit.
Casey's Coast to Coast. Number 40.
During the past couple of weeks, we've been doing our annual special countdown of 100 top hits of 1980. So we now have 9 new songs to introduce to our weekly survey. And here's the first of them at number 40. It's the latest release by the Jacksons, written by Michael Jackson, and having the same title as Elvis Presley's first pop hit.
The hits from coast to coast.
Hello again, and welcome to American Top 40. My name's Casey Kasem, and we're about to do our weekly countdown of the most popular songs in the USA. According to the official Billboard survey, these are the records you're buying and radio stations are playing all over America. So here we go with our very first countdown of the new year, 1981. And to start off the new year in style, let's do a special recap of the top 3 songs of the year gone by. And the number 3 song for all of 1980 was this one, for the year 1980. I'm Casey Kasem, and leading into our first weekly countdown of 1981, we're doing a special recap of the top 3 songs of 1980. And for last year, this song was number 2.
We don't need no education.
The number 1 song of the land for the year 1980, Call Me by Blondie. Well, that's our special recap of last year's top 3 singles. Our first countdown of the new year 1981 begins in a moment with a new song using the same title as Elvis Presley's first pop hit.
Casey's Coast to Coast.
Now, listen to this.
American Top 40.
I'm Casey Kasem, and our first weekly countdown of 1981 begins.
Number 40.
During the past couple of weeks, we've been doing our annual special countdown of 100 top hits of 1980. So we now have 9 new songs to introduce to our weekly survey. And here's the first of them at number 40. It's the latest release by the Jacksons, written by Michael Jackson, and having the same title as Elvis Presley's first pop hit. But it's a completely different song. Only the title is the same. Here are the Jacksons with Heartbreak Hotel.
Heartbreak Hotel.
The Jacksons at number 40 on American Top 40, one of 16 groups in the countdown this week, and their latest is Heartbreak Hotel. Well, this week, a 6-man band from Cleveland called the Michael Stanley Band debut with their first chart single. It's called He Can't Love You and comes in at number 39. Survey song number 39, debuting this week on American Top 40, the Michael Stanley Band and He Can't Love You. Now, listen to this.
Yeah, the round cats, and I'll tell you.
A song that went to number 2, giving label credit to a man who didn't sing it. Details are coming up.
The hits from coast to coast.
Now, listen to this.
American Top 40.
AT40 originates in Hollywood. I'm Casey Kasem. This week, the duo of affable-looking Fred Knobloch and beautiful-looking Susan Anton are at number 38 in our countdown with their first duet together, Killing Time.
2 of us.
Fred Knobloch and Susan Anton with the ballad Killing Time at number 38 this week on American Top 40. Now, once again, listen to this.
Yeah, the round cats, and I'll tell you a story about how to become an all-American boy. Buy you a guitar and put it in tune. You be rocking and rolling soon.
That's the All-American Boy, a number 2 hit from way back in 1959. Now, the label on that record says that the song was recorded by a man named Bill Parsons, and it was Bill Parsons who received credit for the hit on the Billboard charts. But it wasn't Bill Parsons who sang that song. It was country star Bobby Bare. Here's what happened. Back in 1958, a pair of friends went into a recording studio to cut some demo tapes of songs that they'd written. They wanted to become stars. They were Bill Parsons and his buddy, Bobby Bare. After Parsons and Bear separately recorded their songs, they left the tapes with the recording studio's management and told them they'd try to sell their songs to a record company. And they succeeded. A company called Fraternity Records bought the song and released a record with a tune by Bill Parsons on one side and another by Bobby Bear on the other. But somewhere along the line, the songs and their singers had gotten crossed, and the All-American Boy wound up being credited to Bill Parsons, while the song on the flip side, Rubber Dolly, which never became a hit, was credited to Bobby Bear. And that's how Bill Parsons wound up getting his name in the record books as the singer of a #2 song, which was actually sung by Bobby Bear. By the way, the mix-up didn't hurt Bobby's career at all. Bobby Bear went on to become a big star of country music. I'm Casey Kasem, and the countdown continues.
Number 37.
This week, Donna Summer's follow-up to The Wanderer is in the countdown at number 37. It's called Cold Love. Donna Summer's 14th top 40 hit at number 37 this week. It's called Cold Love. 36 big hits to number 1, and we're counting them down.
Casey's Coast to Coast. American Top 40. The hits from coast to coast. American Top 40.
Every week, American Top 40 is heard in the 50 states and around the world on great radio stations like KACY, Oxnard, California, KAYK, Provo, Utah, and KDWB, Minneapolis, St. Paul, Minnesota. Christopher Cross's third hit in a row is at number 36 this week, Never Be the Same. 29-year-old Christopher Cross on American Top 40 at number 36 with Never Be the Same. Here's another debut song. It's from the album called Eagles Live, and it comes in at number 35. The Eagles with 7 Bridges Road.
There are stars in the southern sky.
A listener in Pennsylvania wants to know what single record in the rock era has had the most up and down movements on the chart before it fell off. Well, the title of the champion yo-yo record is Lawrence Welk's favorite expression. Details coming up.
The hits from coast to coast.
Now, listen to this. The 5-man band from Illinois called REO Speedwagon are long established as an album and concert act, and now they have their first top 40 single. At number 34, REO Speedwagon with Keep On Loving You.
You should have seen by the look in my eyes, baby.
Their first American Top 40 hit, REO Speedwagon at number 34 with Keep On Loving You. This is Casey on AT40 in Hollywood. And now, let's answer that question about yo-yoing on the Billboard chart. It comes from Martin McSweeney in Penn Hills, Pennsylvania. Martin wants to know, what song in the rock era has zigged and zagged the most in its life on the chart? Well, we had to put on our seatbelts to research this one, and here's what we found. The hit single that did the most yo-yoing on the chart during its run was by a singer who's been hitting the charts now for 23 years. And the record of his that did all that zigging and zagging was his first hit back in 1957, a ballad called Wonderful, Wonderful. Stayed on the chart from January to October in 1957, and during that long run, Wonderful, Wonderful changed directions from up to down or down to up 17 times. That's the bumpiest ride any record has ever taken. Wonderful, Wonderful by Johnny Mathis. Thanks for the question, Martin. Now, on with the countdown.
Number 33.
Devo's first hit single, still in the 40 after 15 weeks. Here's Devo and Whip It.
American Top 40.
Every week, we count down the most popular songs in the USA as determined by the official Billboard survey of record stores and radio stations. And according to that survey, country star Don Williams is at number 32 in our pop countdown with his recent #1 country hit. It's called I Believe in You. Another of the #1 songs of the 60s, and we're up to July 1963. This was the 73rd #1 single of that decade, Surf City by...
from coast to coast.
In Hollywood, this is Casey Kasem on American Top 40, counting down the biggest hits in the nation on our way to the #1 song in America.
Number 31.
Could there be any question that Dan Fogelberg had New Year's Eve on his mind when he came up with the title for his latest hit? Here he is, moving up to number 31 with Same Old Lang Syne. Dan Fogelberg at number 31 in American Top 40 with Same Old Lang Syne. Coming up, my special report on the giant TV star who ordered his cameraman not to show Elvis Presley from the waist down, who introduced the Beatles to America, and who once paid an act $10,000 not to appear on his show.
Casey's Coast to Coast.
AT40 originates in Hollywood. I'm Casey Kasem. From their current album called Super Trooper, here's ABBA from Sweden with their 13th Top 40 hit, The Winner Takes It All.
I don't want to talk.
Number 30 on American Top 40 with The Winner Takes It All. This is Casey on AT40 in Hollywood, and now we're up to my special report on one of the biggest stars television has ever known. A performer who didn't sing, dance, act, or tell jokes, but has been one of the most influential figures in the history of entertainment. The man I'm talking about is Ed Sullivan, the legendary TV host whose hour-long Sunday night show introduced many of the biggest rock acts of the 50s and 60s to the American public. It was on the Ed Sullivan Show, for instance, that Elvis Presley made his most famous TV appearance back in the fall of '56. That was when he was shown performing Hound Dog from only the waist up. Ed Sullivan had instructed his cameraman to avoid the famous Presley pelvis so as not to offend his more conservative viewers. Then, a little more than 7 years later, Ed Sullivan introduced America to the Beatles. The Beatles appeared on the Ed Sullivan Show for 3 weeks in a row, and those shows drew the biggest television audiences ever up to that time. Over the years, Ed Sullivan would highlight many new rock acts on his show, like the Jefferson Airplane, the Bee Gees, the Stones, and the Mamas and Papas. But the oddest group ever booked by Ed Sullivan was a group that he eventually paid $10,000 not to appear on his show. Since Ed Sullivan was always trying to book up-and-coming acts, he often signed them sight unseen. And that's how a San Francisco band called Country Joe and the Fish were booked. But when Ed Sullivan discovered that Country Joe and the Fish intended to sing a song featuring an offensive 4-letter word, he refused to let them appear and paid them their $10,000 to stay home. And that's my special report on Ed Sullivan. And the countdown continues.
Number 29.
American Top 40 is heard in the 50 states and around the world every week on great radio stations like WABB Mobile, Alabama, WABZ Albemarle, North Carolina, and WBBM-FM Chicago. Here at number 28, Barbra Streisand in a former #1 song.
Life is a moment in space when the dream is gone. It's a lonely place.
Barbra Streisand on American Top 40 at number 28 with Woman in Love. A listener in Oregon wants to know which day of the week has been named in the most Top 40 song titles. Well, you probably were not in school on that day. Details coming up.
Casey's Coast to Coast.
I'm Casey Kasem. There are 5 movie songs in this week's countdown. Here's one of them. At number 26, the title song to the movie 9 to 5, written and recorded by Dolly Parton.
Tumble out of bed and I stumble to the kitchen, pour myself a cup of ambition and yawn and stretch and try to come to life.
Now, let's answer that question about the calendar and the charts. Jeff Guston in Salem, Oregon wants to know which day of the week has been most popular in hit songs. So we checked out all the song titles that made the Top 40 during the rock era. And here's how the days of the week stack up. Wednesday and Thursday have never been named in Top 40 song titles. Tuesday has hit the Top 40 3 times. Monday and Friday are tied at 4 appearances apiece, which leaves the days of the weekend as the songwriters' favorites. There's been Saturday in the Park, Pleasant Valley Sunday, Saturday Night, Never on Sunday, and even a double-barreled one called Saturday Night, Sunday Morning, plus many more. Well, these are the totals. Saturday is hit 13 times, and Sunday, 16 times. So there's your answer, Jeff. Sunday is the day of the week named in the most Top 40 song titles. Thanks for your letter, and now, on with the countdown.
Number 25.
Boz Scaggs. Coming up, a long-distance dedication from the former happiest man in Marshalltown, Iowa.
Casey's Coast to Coast.
Now, listen to this. 1840 originates in Hollywood. The band at number 24 in the countdown took Blackwater and What a Fool Believes all the way to number 1. Their 15th top 40 hit is called One Step Closer. Here are the Doobie Brothers. This is Casey Kasem on American Top 40 in Hollywood. And now, it's time for our long-distance dedication. It comes from a soldier named David, and he writes, Dear Casey, all of my life I've been a very independent person, not relying on or really trusting anyone. That is until I met Jackie. We met a little over a year ago in Marshalltown, Iowa. Even though we were both seeing other people at the time, it soon became obvious to both of us that we had more than friendship going between us. Even though most of our contact came in the form of midnight phone conversations, we fell in love and became very close. I grew to love her more each day. What's more, I found myself depending on someone for the first time in my life, and it felt wonderful. For the next 6 months, I was the happiest man in Marshalltown. But almost as fast as it had begun, it was over with. I have no regrets about what we had between us, because for that short time, I needed someone and was needed back. Casey, would you play Still from Dave in Massachusetts to Jackie in Marshalltown? Signed, David. Okay, Dave, here's your long-distance dedication.
It's from coast to coast.